I want to say something real quick. So, I get it. I understand that you know, platforms like WBAL, platforms like MSNBC, they have the audience, they have the capital, so they're gonna naturally have more the influence and the impact. So I get that, right? But I guess my question is, like, I have a smaller platform. I know, you know, Adam Jackson has LBS. You guys have platforms. There's a lot of, I'm sure other people, my sister's here, she got the Field of Kids, her and her friends have a Field of Kids platform where they give back to the Baltimore community. I guess my question is, we saw what just happened at Morehouse, right? Mm-hmm. We saw the black billionaire who pretty much cleared the student loan debt for the class of 2019.
And that story was spread everywhere.
Exactly. So I guess my question is, like, if it's black people's responsibility to look out for the black institutions, and I mean, you heard my grandfather come up here and speak. People like him who have wealth. There's a lot of other black people in Baltimore and beyond have wealth. Why can't you all be the people to fund the black institutions that are doing the real work, doing the right work, doing good work? Why can't you all do it instead of us having to go outside of the community? You know, so that we can have more of a voice and more of a platform. Because, like I said, it's not we can't become a WBAL on our own, running like a mom and pop type of shop. It's just not possible, and it will take decades to do. So we need people that look like us and who have the same plight as us to use their resources to help us. So that's really my question to people in this room and people beyond who have the resources and who have the capital. I feel like that's a quicker way of us all getting to a place where we have more capital, more impact, more influence.
So one of my favorite quotes is from the movie Fences. And it was when Troy had died, and the son didn't want to go to the funeral because he was upset at the things that his father put him through. And Rose, you know, talked to him, and she said, you know, your father hugs, and sometimes when he hugs, he hurts, right? Your father loved you the best way that he knew how. And hearing that, you get what I'm saying? I go back and I look at myself, and I look at a lot of people in this room. We either the first black person in our field. We came in with first generation college graduates, with first generation a lot of things. So a lot of times, you get what I'm saying, our journey was like, you know, we on the highway driving our car, you get what I'm saying, and we fixing our engines while we on the road. A lot of us really don't know, so we just figuring it out. So me doing what I'm doing, I'm showing love the best way that I know how. I'm showing love the best way that they know how. We all showing love the best way we know how. Y'all even having this panel, that's y'all don't know everything. You at 70 years old still don't know everything. We all just still here trying to figure it out. So everybody's contribution, everybody's making an impact. And Dr. Kendi, the person who wrote Stand from the beginning, he wrote an article about the billionaire who gave back to Morehouse. And I'm going to read one of the quotes that he said in the article. He said, too many Americans believe that success has only two parents, ability and effort. Too many people sit comfortably on a bus, imagine they are walking on a platform of equal opportunity, and shout to the walking people that something is wrong with them if they can't keep up. Too many so-called self-made white Americans have an exaggerated sense of self instead of a sense of their exaggerated opportunities. A conceit that springs their racist ideas as their racist ideas spring their conceit. Too many accomplished people of color dangerously believe that since they supposedly overcame racism, that anyone can. They believe the hype that they are extraordinary, that they are not like those ordinarily inferior people in their racial group, reinforcing the very racist ideas that oppress them. They refuse to acknowledge how they are community made, since they believe that certain things are wrong with their community. And I feel like that's an issue right there. A lot of people, they leave these communities and they think that there's something wrong with the community that they came from. They think that there's something wrong with black people. Right. So they automatically separate themselves. You get what I'm saying? And I just wanted to share that with y'all.
Get your questions going. We got another one right here.
Sorry. Yeah. How you doing? Hey. I'm not sure if it's a question, a comment, or maybe both. I appreciate everybody here. I appreciate WBAL having me here. My name is Dominic. I'm a Baltimore City firefighter, paramedic, 14 years, which is like 30 years anywhere else. I didn't really say it for, you know, the kudos, but I see Baltimore from a different perspective. Like, I see there really is two different Baltimores, and it's been like that
White butterfly.
before I was young. I mean, before I was born. I mean, we've lost about 5 generations to my count. So what I'm trying to say is basically, I don't hold the media accountable for anything. I don't. They're doing their job. If people don't understand by now how propaganda works and funding, like, this negative news, it sells. And it's just going to be that way until the end of time. Like, it's just going to be that way. They're going to do what they're going to do to make money. My thing is, we have to make it so the negative news in Baltimore is so hard and impossible to find that they have no choice but to put the positive news on. We got to do that, because negative news comes out every day, because negative things happen every day. I see it every day, every hour. There's something bad going on in Baltimore. And even though there's a lot of positive stuff going on, the negative news, it just generates the income. So my thing is, I know we all have our different, like, channels we want to, in nonprofits we want to do, but I think you just got to get down to the essence. How do we break out of that mental, like, barrier that a lot of the young people have in Baltimore City? Because it doesn't take a huge nonprofit of 2,000 members. It doesn't take a nonprofit of 20 members. It just takes, like, I was inspired by what you were saying, it just takes just a little word of mouth. Like, I feel like we're speaking on behalf of the have-nots, instead of, like, having the have-nots here and letting them tell us, like, what they need. I'm sure with the students you teach, you probably know they have, one-parent households, or they're starving. Like, you probably know, like, the solution is, it doesn't take, like, a mother and father. It takes the whole community. And sometimes when we walk by these people in the street, instead of just walking around or, ignoring them, a good hello, how's your day, it goes a long way. Just last week, when the downtown incident happened, I saw somebody take 2 Slurpees out of 7-Eleven, and actually heard the 7-Eleven workers saying they were going to call the police. I took it upon myself to walk up to him and say, hey, like, you gonna really do that for $3? $3, it's a Slurpee. And he looked really intimidating. Like, he was about 6'5", big guy, but he looks like me, so I can't be afraid of him. Like, I walk in trap houses every day. Like, I'm immune to it. And he went back in there and he gave the lady $20. He said, I'm sorry, and that might have changed his life. I don't know. A janitor changed my life. You don't have to be a scholar. You just gotta care. And I'm sorry, I get a little emotional because, like, I'm just having all these flashbacks, And I was born in Baltimore. It's really a matter of just caring. That's all you gotta do. And if we can get these young kids out of that mental block, like, they'll create their own entrepreneurship. They'll create their own opportunities, and we won't have to do all these organizations. Because what I think happens, when you create these organizations, you're going to attract the good people who are already, like, kind of, like, grounded, but the bad people are still left behind. Somebody still needs to reach out and talk to these bad kids. They're not going to just come to you, because they're even right now, like, I get frustrated. Like, there's a lot of good people here, but I still, like, when it gets a little out of order, I lose focus. Just like the young woman here saying, like, we needed a Google. Like, you got a laptop right there, just start it. Like, you want to do it, it doesn't take that much. Like, it's just a mental block, So, but I appreciate everybody here, and I know if you're here, you're a good person, but you got to project that to the bad people too. Like, they need a man's voice. And a woman's voice, but they really do, because there's something about a man's voice. Like, I'm telling you, it really works, and you just gotta care. So I thank you for your service and everything.
So really quick, my name is Wesley Hawkins. I do a lot for the youth in Baltimore, and the problem with a lot of them are suffering is high levels of trauma. We're dealing with a lot of kids that suffer from very high levels of trauma. It's called ACEs. Adverse childhood experiences. So if a young child father is incarcerated, his father is in jail, his mother or father is strung out on drugs, or they live in abandoned houses. Our community, we have thousands of abandoned houses in this city. So when we talking about improvement and fixing, and when we calling these kids bad, we can't label these kids as bad if we're not going to actually fix what's wrong with them at the core level. So I'm standing here as a man that does a lot of things that's positive in the community. But I was one of them kids they pushed along. I was one of the kids that they condemned and said they weren't going to be nothing. Nobody took the time to invest. So what I'm trying to say is we got to invest in these kids. And I'm going to keep saying that everywhere that I go, because these kids are asking, well, what do y'all want us to do? We don't have a lot of rec centers. If y'all know what X Games is, X Games is where they do the skateboards, the dirt bikes, the four-wheelers. They do all that. They make millions of dollars to do it. Well, our kids can do the same thing when they ride in these dirt bikes. So we judging these kids and we condemning them for the same thing that other communities do to make riches and wealth. But they don't have a place to go practice. Our kids love to skateboard. Our kids love to skate. Our kids ride dirt bikes. But where are we sending them to? That's my question. Where are we sending our kids to? I just spoke at the Youth Detention Center last week. I spoke to a bunch of students and I asked them, because I call them students, I asked them, raise your hand if you would like to be here. Nobody raised their hand. So I said, raise your hand if you want to go home. Everybody raised their hand. So I said, if you will change your decision making to change the circumstance that put you here, raise your hand. They all raised their hand. Then I spoke to them one-on-one. Almost every last one of those young men that I spoke to told me either their father was in jail or deceased, or their mother was strung out on drugs, or their mother had 4, 5, or 6 kids, and they was trying to make a way for their family. Just like we judging these squeezy kids and calling them, saying there's something wrong, these kids are trying to make way for themselves. So we don't get in a way that economically, we try to help people with housing, food, establishments, and things like that. People are going to continue to try to figure out ways themselves. That's all about it. We can't keep condemning people for the conditions that we live in. So my question to the media is like, why do we get condemned for the conditions that we are raised in, that we are born in, instead of saying, well, this young man or this young lady is from this, and this is the actual problem. We have a lot of kids in this city that suffer with lead poisoning. If you know what lead poisoning is, it affects the way you think. It affects your behavior. It affects your attitude. It affects everything about you as a human being. But we're not addressing, oh, these kids are struggling with lead poisoning. We just saying they bad kids. We just saying we need to send them away. We just saying, oh, what are we going to do with them? They need help. At the very core level, these kids need help. You can ride up and down streets in Baltimore, and we say people are standing on corners and they loitering. Well, where do you want them to go? Really ride around Baltimore and see how it looks. Take a glance and ride through the city and see how it looks. It looks like this. Abandoned house, abandoned house, abandoned house, abandoned house. Somebody live here, somebody grandmother here, another abandoned house. But we saying these kids are bad? Invest in them. Stop calling them names. Stop labeling them. Because I couldn't read, write, or count when I was their age. But I graduated from college with honors twice. But people passed me along. So my point is, until we get together and invest in these kids, we can no longer continue to label them and say they're doing the wrong things, the foul things. They put us on the news, and I'm not saying y'all, because I see the great things y'all do. I know Jerome, he does a lot of great things. He sent me down, personally sought me out because he saw the things that I was doing in the community, and that's how I met that brother, and I applaud the work that he's doing. But my point is, we have a large platform about people getting depicted in a bad way, but people aren't saying, well, they're living in the worst conditions that the human being is living through. But you're painting us on the news and saying, we these evil people. No, we were born into a lot of this, most of us. From, like you said, brothers, the history of America. If you look at the history of America and you see how we've been abused, oppressed, beat down, ripped apart. So how can they expect us to be all these great people? The only way that's going to change, and I agree with some of the things that you said, Kondwani, if we invest and uplift ourselves. Because nobody come in the door and fix it for us. We got to do that as a community, as people. Seriously, as people. Every day, y'all can see me in different communities all around Baltimore helping kids that I don't even know. I get hundreds of phone calls on my phone from the city, from single parent mothers calling me saying their son need this, their son in this game, can I come up here? I'm out my bed 1, 2, 3 in the morning helping families. Because we need that. But like we have people in this room, we need more of us to come together and help uplift and support each other. Because like my older brother said right there, he had his business, but we didn't support. We need more support from us. Point blank period. Thank you.
The support from us, by the way, we have independent black media. Are you consuming that is my question. Because we do have our own You don't have to wait for a mainstream organization to recognize your humanity.
Exactly.
So we have been trying to motivate a lot of you all, if you have access to cameras, camera phones obviously, and lights, real equipment. You can always start telling your own stories, and you probably have your own websites, and you don't have to wait for the local affiliate to tell your story, because you might be waiting for Christ to come back. It might take that long.